All right. I have started a recording, so thank you all for joining us. I'm also going to share, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you all can see my screen now.
We can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So what I wanted to do is just kind of pull everyone together so that you have an idea of what you're going to be doing for this summit. So thank you all for volunteering or agreeing to be a part of the summit today, or the summit in November. We're really excited about it. We've pretty much got everybody lined up and confirmed. So I think we're ready to roll. And I just wanted to be able to answer any questions that you all have, and so that you know where to go and when to be there and things like that. So that's what we're going to go over today. For anybody who's not able to join us, I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, I'm recording this and I'll send this out. I'll actually send it to all of you. So if there's anything you want to go through again, you can go back and watch it again if you need to.
Please.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here with the presentation. All right, so for all moderators, now, this is not to insult anyone who is a very seasoned moderator, speaker. I'm just giving a little bit of best practices as a Toastmaster. I feel it to be my duty to impart to everyone a little bit of best practices from Toastmasters. So the lectern. This is just a sticking point for me. A podium is something you step up onto. It comes from the root word of podiatry. So if you are an Olympian, you step up on a podium. All right. If you are a lecturer, you speak from a lectern, from the root word of lecture. Not everybody knows that. Just thought I would point that out. If you call it a podium, I'm not going to correct you. A little bit of a history there, history lesson for you there, grammar lesson for you. So the lectern does have a purpose, and that is it commands everyone's attention. So we would like everybody to start and end behind the lectern. We're also going to be live streaming this. So that means anybody and everybody's going to see it. It's going to be really good for everybody to have a focal point. Now, you don't have to stay behind the lectern the entire time, especially if you're moderating one of the panels. It would be more natural probably for you to come out in front and make sure that you can see all of the panelists. And the way that the stage is going to be set up, if you're looking at it from an audience standpoint, we are going to have the screen off to the left. The lectern will be on the left side of the stage near the screen. And then all of the panelist chairs, there should be 4 panelists for each one of those sessions. And we'll have those 4 chairs kind of from the center going to the right of the stage. All right, so I want you to be able to envision where you're going to be, where you'll be on that stage. So if you come up and get behind the lectern as you're introduced, and then again, once you get started, you can step away from that. Let's see, what else do I have on here? It's also the speaker's responsibility to lead applause. So when you introduce people or thank people and you're ready for applause, it's actually your responsibility to lead that applause. And then I already mentioned, feel free to move in front of the lectern. All right, that's just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, some of you probably already know these things, but just for a very polished look to the whole day, if we just keep these things in mind, that would be great. Right, let's move on. So now I'm going to address specifically those of you who are moderating speakers. We've got some who are moderating panels, some who are moderating speakers. So this is for those of you moderating speakers. Prior to the summit, we make sure that you have a conversation with your speakers, because you need to understand the topic, everything that they're going to be talking about. And we'd like you to come up with questions together so that they know what you'll be asking them. So some of them might be doing more of a presentation or a speech or something, but at the end, we want to leave some time for questions. We will open up to the audience for some of these, but be prepared in case we don't get any audience questions. Now we have, I think, over 600 people already planning to come to this. I expect there's going to be a question or two, but just be prepared. We don't want you to feel awkward standing up there with no questions coming to you. And hopefully you're having that dialogue with your speaker. If you haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, or if you haven't been able to get hold of your speaker, please let me or Dr. Glass or Tony know as soon as possible, because those need to be happening sooner than later. During the summit, Dr. Glass will introduce you as the speaker. And when he says your name, that's when you will come up to the stage. You then are going to introduce your speaker. So I believe, Melody, we have the bios for everybody. Is that correct? Or we're in the process of getting those still?
We have most of them for the keynote speakers, yes.
Okay, great. And I know some of you probably know your speaker a little bit better, so try not to read the bio. Again, just a best practice. If you know, and if you have the opportunity to talk to them beforehand, which we're asking you to do, just ask them about themselves. Go beyond that bio. Share something that the audience wouldn't know if they didn't read their bio. That just makes it a little more interesting, a little bit more personal. And then when the speaker is finished, remind the audience that they have index cards, and we're putting those in everybody's packet as they come to the summit. So everybody in the audience will have index cards, and that's what we're going to use for asking questions. So we're not going to have mics that we're going to pass around, COVID, you know. So instead, we're using index cards. They will write their question and hold it up, and we will have students and KDE staff all throughout the room, and they will collect those cards and bring them to you as the moderator, and then you will read from the card any questions. And of course, you'll have your own cards that you come up with as well, as we just talked about. All right, moving on. Go ahead and leave 15 to 20 minutes for audience questions. Now, these speakers are not going to be part of panelists, so they may be dropping off right after they speak and take some questions. So we do want to go ahead and leave anywhere, I said 15 to 20, it may be more like 10 to 15. Work that out with your speaker, how much content they have versus how much time you want to leave for audience questions. I already talked about the room facilitators collecting the cards. We're also going to have sheets of paper, red, yellow, and green, and we'll have a facilitator in front of you, in front of the stage, who will hold up at the 5-minute mark. You'll see a green card. That means there are only 5 minutes left to your session. At 2 minutes, we'll hold up a yellow card. So you know there are only 2 minutes left. So you should be on your last question or no more than one more question, because you're going to have to be wrapping up soon. When you see red, you need to be stopping. All right. Our schedule is super, super tight. So make sure if you see red, wrap it up. All right, now I'm going to move on to the panel moderators. Again, Dr. Glass will introduce you as the panel moderator. When he says your name, you'll come up to the stage. Ask each, and then you as the moderator will ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. So my panelists,
Karen,
you need to be prepared to introduce yourself. Yes.
can you advance the slide?
Sorry, does someone have a question?
Can you advance the slide?
Not
Oh,
on panel moderators?
It is now. It is now. Okay.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was saying panelists will introduce yourself. So we're looking for your name, what organization you're with, if any, what stakeholder group are you representing. And these, I'm going back to the stakeholder groups that we used with the coalition. So you're either a student, a family, you're representing families, educators, either as a teacher, a district, or a state educator, or you're a community leader, which could be business or legislator. That would fit under community leader. Okay. And then as the panel moderator, you will remind the audience that they can write questions on their index cards and hold it up, and a facilitator will collect it. So again, same kind of thing. And by doing that right after the introductions, they can start thinking about their questions ahead of time. Now we're also going to give each of the panelists Okay, we want to, as the moderator, you'll ask each panelist after they introduce themselves, then go back and ask them to just give their first reaction to the first speaker. And now some of you are going to be on panels where there are two speakers back to back. And so the reaction panel will be reacting to both of those speakers. So you'll have a little bit shorter time for discussion around each of the speakers. So you'll go through, and each one will give their first reaction. And I would say we want this to be like 2 minutes or less. Talk about your first reaction to it. And then move on to the next slide. If you don't have any audience questions yet, we will have some cards for you that you can ask the panelists questions. Or you're also welcome, as you are listening to the speakers, write down your own questions for your panelists. All right. So as moderator, you have that full privilege to do that.
Karen?
And then yes.
Just checking, I may have missed this, but will each of the keynotes be followed by a reaction panel?
In some situations we have back-to-back.
Okay.
Yeah, in some situations we have back-to-back panelists. So some panels will be reacting to two speakers.
Okay, but every speaker will have a reaction panel.
No, not all of them. We have the last one on Monday does not have a reaction panel.
Okay.
Because of the timing. And then we have with the mental health is going to be, that's kind of designed to be a panel itself.
Okay.
So yeah,
right.
So those are the only two that do not have one.
But I can expect one for Tony Wagner, my God.
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
And Ashley Watts is on, and she's going to be the moderator for that one.
Perfect.
Those two will be together.
Okay.
The first two keynotes, yes.
All right, thanks.
And I'll share the agenda as soon as I get through these slides. So we will look at that so that you will know what you're reacting to. Okay. We do want to make sure we get through as many of the audience questions as we can. So even if we give you, some plant questions, or you come up with some questions, we want to get to the audience questions, because this really is about, involving everybody, and that's why they're there. So make sure you prioritize audience questions. And then I already talked about switching from one to the other. So we are going to have those cards for you. So when you get through about 20 minutes is when the red card will go up for your panelists. And then at the end of that 5-minute red, yellow, green is when we'll switch topics. So the moderator will then go back and ask each panelist to give their initial reaction to the second speaker, if that applies. All right. As a speaker, when you are finished, you're going to turn the lectern back over to Dr. Glass. He's going to be our MC for the day. So after you've thanked your panelist or thanked your speaker, all you need to say is, I'm now, please welcome back to the stage, Dr. Glass, or something along those lines. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to say because it's going to look weird if everybody says the same thing. All right, now for the panelists. So we've gone through all the moderators. Now the panelists. There will be a break prior to panel number 1 and number 4. And so those folks just be on the stage before the break is over. So you'll be set. We'll be good to go for that. Panels 2, pardon me, panels 2 and 3, you will come up with the moderator after Dr. Glass does the introduction. All right, and you'll see where you are on there in a bit. The moderator will ask you to introduce yourself. So we went through that before, your name, your organization, if applicable, and your stakeholder group. And then you'll be asked to give your initial reaction to the first topic. So again, keep that 1 to 2 minutes and focus on that topic only. That can be difficult when you have two speakers that you're reacting to and you just heard the second one, but we want to stick with one topic at a time. So just be sure that when they ask you to respond, that you're responding to the correct one. All right, and then we'll get to the second topic after 25 minutes. Then the moderator will ask you to just step down when the panel is finished. Now for everyone, if you have not, and I haven't asked for this from all of you yet, so we will be asking you to send in a headshot and a brief bio. And that's for all of our moderators and our panelists, because we want to be able to highlight you for everybody to see. We're going to have QR codes throughout so people can click on them and see who's speaking and things like that. So melody.cooper@education.ky.gov is who you can send those to. I will send a reminder following this today's meeting here to remind you to do that. When you get there for the day of the event, you will check in the lobby of the Kentucky International Convention Center in Louisville, holding this. You will be required to show proof of that or a negative COVID-19 test that was taken within 48 hours. So that's going to be required of everyone who attends. We will also have face masks for everyone at the door with the Summit logo on it. So if anybody forgets their mask, we've got you covered, but it will be a fully masked event. Then you will go to the speaker, moderator, panelist check-in table. We will have a separate table just for all of you so that you don't get stuck behind maybe a last minute rush or anything. So just come to that table and we'll get you checked in, and each of you will have an individual packet, especially the moderators who will have certain, different questions in there. So your packets may look a little different than what everybody else is getting. And okay, so any questions on any of that before I flip over to the agenda for the day?
Karen, will panelists be seated at such a distance that it would be safe for them to remove their masks, or should they just do that when they're speaking?
That's a really good question. Tony, we hadn't really talked about that. I think we probably can seat them to where they can have their masks off while they're up there, don't you think?
I agree. Yeah, the stage is pretty large. Yes, I think that would be best. So as long as everybody feels comfortable, I think we could leave it up to those that are on the stage.
Sure.
But everybody will be screened ahead of time, so there's the comfort in knowing that. And then we'll just place the chairs comfortably apart so that you can remove your mask. But if go up there obviously with your mask, and then you can just remove them for the conversation. I think that'll be fine.
Thank you.
That was a good question.
Karen, this is Gene.
All right,
Willey.
now you should be. Yeah, Gene, go ahead.
Linda and I talked about the use of slides, and I sort of indicated to her that given the short time frame, it might not be good to do that. And I just wondered if that's appropriate advice to her, or you were thinking differently.
That's totally up to you. We are setting it up so that if anyone does have a presentation that they want to share, we have the capability to do that. If you feel like a dialogue will work better for you and her, it's totally up to the two of you. But we do have the capability to show the slides if she and you decide to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and just make sure you get those to Melody. Again, I'll share that with everyone after this. Okay,
And
so
then
you
we will
will see
just
the
to,
agenda
just to add on,
now.
yeah, just to add on that, we'll just need to know about the slides too, so that KET knows in advance as well. So just to let us know about that.
Yeah.
Also, just a clarifying
All right,
question.
and Tony, you said you please.
For the moderating and position-wise, will there be a wireless mic if we are going to go to the front of the stage to be able to face the speaker or panelists?
Yes, all panelists will have a lavalier, so it'll be attached to your shirt or jacket. And actually, I think even our speakers, so moderators, everyone will have a lavalier. That's what we did decide on.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now looking at the agenda, and this is still our rough, so you may see our notes in here and stuff like this. We don't have the finalized agenda ready to go out, so I am sharing with you a little behind the scenes. So our day, this is day one, November 1st on Monday, starting at 8:30. We'll have Dr. Glass open up, and we're going to have some music by DeCorey Johnson from Bates Elementary. I believe this is the national anthem. Then and I'm not sure if we have confirmed the governor or not. I'm actually on vacation this week, so I may have missed some emails. Tony, do you know if he's confirmed yet?
Well, the lieutenant governor has confirmed him, so I'm waiting for his official confirmation from his scheduler, but she said he will be there. So,
okay, so that would be an opening from the governor. Then at 9 o'clock, we'll move into our keynote. So Lou, this is you at 9 a.m. with Tony Wagner. You will have 45 minutes, and I should say everybody has 45 minutes. Every speaker and every panel will be 45 minutes long. That was the only way we could get everything in here. So 45 minutes for that. We will then, Lou, once you turn it back over to Jason, he'll step up, and then he will introduce Aaron Thompson. So Dr. Thompson, you will be second with Speaker Pro Tem Mead and President Pro Givens. Another 45 minutes there, and then we'll take a break. So during that break is when the panelists for the first reaction panel will come up. Those chairs will already be on stage. You'll just come up and be ready to go as soon as everyone comes back from break at 10:45. So on that panel, I've got a couple in red here that I don't know that have been confirmed yet, but we have Allison Martin, we have Bridget Blum, we have Senator Gerald Neal. And then Laura Peevely, I think, is the one who I'm not sure has been confirmed yet.
yeah, she's just waiting.
All right, so that's panel number one. Okay, thank you. So that'll go for 45 minutes. At 11:30, we're going to move into breakout rooms. So those will be in various rooms. We may be some of those will be across the street. So if you're familiar at all with the conference center there in Louisville, you have to go across the street to get to the big breakout rooms. So that's our plan. We'll have at least 6 breakout rooms over there. If our numbers keep climbing for attendance, then we're going to add a couple more rooms to make sure everybody can spread out and is comfortable. And in there, we will ask the audience members to have conversations about what they heard and give some feedback. We will have note takers in there to capture what's being said by all of those folks.
With respect to the
Again,
panelists,
another 45.
may I ask a question?
I'm sorry. Yes,
With
please.
respect to the panelists, once they have completed their engagement, there's no other obligation expected?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so after the breakout, we then go to lunch. So 12:30 is lunch. That will be back in the main lobby. You will pick up a boxed lunch and you can bring that into the main room. So where you were initially seated. Almost everything's happening in that main room. That one breakout session is the only time we won't be in that main room. All right, so you'll bring that back. You'll have 45 minutes to leave the breakout room, use the facilities, make some phone calls, grab your lunch, get back into the room, do some eating, and then we will start back up again at 1:15. So even 45 minutes for lunch. We're very consistent, if nothing else. Then we will have keynote number 3. Dr. Glass will introduce Jean Wilhoit. And Jean, you will introduce Linda Darling Hammond. And you will have 45 minutes to do your presentation. Now you will have a reaction panel right after your presentation. So you can take some questions from your audience. Ms. Darling Hammond does not have to stay for that panel. She's free to go unless she wants to stay on there. And you can discuss that with her ahead of time, Jean, if you want. But the expectation is not for her. She is not expected to be there unless she chooses. And just let us know if that's the case so that we don't cut her off. So then we'll have the next reaction panel, and this will be moderated by Byron Darnell. He's one of our associates. We have on that panel, I think we're still tentative for Tina Bojanowski, Justin Bathen, and I apologize if I don't say some of these names right, Carmen Coleman, and Willie Edward Taylor Carver, who is our Teacher of the Year. So that is the panel for Linda Darling Hammond. All right, and you all will be going up after Dr. Glass introduces Miss Byron. You will all come up at the same time. And then we'll have another break. This is a 15-minute break, and we'll come back to our next 2 keynotes. The first will be Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman, and like Tony said, this is going to be really more of a panel style. She will have students with her, pardon me, and she's really coordinating how this session is going to go. We will be able to take questions, I believe, during that session. So because there is not a reaction panel after this one, but they do have, this one does have a full hour to allow the questions during the session. And then the same thing for our keynote number 5, the last one of the day. This goes from 4 to 5. And this is Pedro Noguera and Rick Hess. And this is moderated by our Vice Chair, Sharon Porter Robinson. And again, this one has a full hour because we will not have a reaction panel after it. So we can do audience questions a little bit longer for this one as well. All right, any questions for day 1? All right, moving on to day 2. This is just a
Karen,
half day.
How long are the reaction panels?
45 minutes.
Okay, they'll be 45. Okay, just checking.
Yeah. And that
Karen,
includes, you know, the introductions and the panelists giving their initial reactions. So yeah, I think it's going to go quick. Yes, Lynn.
Sure.
forgive me for being that person, but Pedro's last name is Noguera.
Noguera, thank you. No, I appreciate you saying that.
Perfect.
Thank you. And I'm actually in the process of reading the book, but can't hear that.
Good.
So I'm saying it wrong in my head the whole time. Okay, day 2, again, I think we're going to have some student music. Tony's still working on that. Jason will give an opening. And then we will start with keynote number 6 at 8:15. And this is going to be Dr. Glass, along with 2 of our students, Soliana Mespin, who is on our board, and Caleb Wallace Bates. So Soliana is going to talk about her experience with both the listening tour and the coalition work, and a little bit about her having student voice in the process that we've used. And then Caleb is going to talk about how all of this is, again, how he's had, pardon me, how he has had his student voice in all of this, and how he believes this will affect him as a rising teacher. So that should be really exciting. I'm very, very excited to hear that whole keynote. I think it's going to be really cool. Then we're going to have a reaction panel. Tony is going to lead this reaction panel. We will have Penny Christian, Chaka Cummings, Brad Clark, and I believe Roheen Dutt and Marty Polio on this panel. All right, and this one is going to be a full hour. We just happen to have a little bit extra time on the second day because we only have 2 keynotes. So we're given a full hour to that panel discussion. Then we'll move into the next keynote, and that will be Travis Hamby, and he will be talking about the local laboratory. So we go from this statewide view of everything that's been happening and the big vision that we're getting out there. And then Travis will be, okay, this is how this is going to impact us at a local level. So that'll be how that unfolds. We will have a short 15-minute break after he speaks, and then we'll come back and have our last reaction panel. David Cook is going to moderate this one. We'll have Representative Ed Massey on here, along with Susan Dugal, Stacy Gamble, and Phoenicia Jones, and all these folks were part of our coalition. So they'll have, I think, a great perspective on the L3 work. And with that, we will close it at 11:30 and call it a day.